Late Wednesday, the Wall Street Journal reported that President Trump is planning to sign an executive order aimed at abolishing the U.S. Department of Education. Newly confirmed Education Secretary Linda McMahon must take all necessary steps to facilitate the closure of the Education Department, the draft order says. The federal bureaucratic hold on education must end. Instead, the draft continues. The Department of Education's main functions can and should be returned to the states. Initially, the Wall Street Journal said Trump would sign the order as soon as Thursday, but the White House pulled the expected signing, according to ABC News. The president is likely to revisit the issue at a later date. So can Trump really dismantle the Department of Education? And what will happen if he does? Here's everything you need to know. Today, the Department of Education oversees a budget of $268 billion. Its role, according to the DOE itself, is to establish policy for, administer, and coordinate most federal assistance to education. That assistance takes two forms. The first is loans and grants. A full 60% of the Education Department's 2024 budget, or $160 billion, went to the Office of Federal Student Aid, which administers Pell Grants, Federal Direct Subsidized Loans, Federal Direct Unsubsidized Loans, and the Federal Work-Study Program. Pell Grants help roughly one-third of U.S. undergraduates, all from lower-income families, pay for college, with an average award of about $4,500. At the same time, more than half of undergraduates in the United States receive federal loans to make college more affordable. The second form of DOE assistance is spending on public elementary and secondary education. The largest federal fund for K-12 schools is Title I, which supplements state and local funding for low-achieving children, especially in poor areas, $18.4 billion in 2023. The next largest is the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act, IDEA, which helps schools cover special education costs, $14.2 billion in 2023. Through these programs and others like them, Title IX, Title VI, the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. The Department of Education holds schools accountable for complying with federal non-discrimination laws. All told, public K-12 schools receive about $125 billion in federal funding each year, or roughly $2,500 per student. That might sound like a big number, but it still represents less than 14% of the total spent on public K-12 education in the U.S. The other 86% comes from localities, often through property taxes and state education departments. The idea behind federal spending on education, which started in earnest after Congress passed the Elementary and Secondary Education Act in 1965, is to provide supplementary funding that will help states and localities close achievement gaps between students from different backgrounds. Seeking to increase accountability and achievement, President George W. Bush's No Child Left Behind Act, 2002, tied some of this federal funding to statewide standards of student testing and teacher performance. In response to criticism, President Barack Obama's Every Student Succeeds Act, 2015, retained NCLB's focus on accountability while giving states more control over testing and reform. According to his draft order, Trump believes that the experiment of controlling American education through federal programs and dollars and the unaccountable bureaucrats those programs and dollars support has failed our children, our teachers, and our families. Trump has long agreed. "I think that education should be local, absolutely," he said while campaigning in 2015. "I think that for people in Washington to be setting curriculum and to be setting all sorts of standards for people living in Iowa and other places is ridiculous." During his first term, Trump took various steps to reduce the Education Department's power, but he didn't eliminate it. More recently, however, he has started to blame the department for imposing policies designed to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion on local districts, and use that argument to justify ending it once and for all. We will drain the government education swamp and stop the abuse of your taxpayer dollars to indoctrinate America's youth with all sorts of things that you don't want to have our youth hearing, Trump said during the 2024 campaign. I told Linda McMahon, "Linda, I hope you do a great job in putting yourself out of a job," he added last month. I want her to put herself out of a job. Education Department.